sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. My name is Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comedian, but my sister's a therapist.
Hi, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to giggle guru Virginia Jones.
Worst one yet.
So, Virginia, what's your topic this week?
Well, this week we have another guest, and we're delighted to have her. She's a long-term friend of mine. She's a comedian. She's also a ferocious martial artist.
Whoa.
She has many, many talents, and her name is Anna Valenzuela. Hello, Anna.
Hello.
Welcome, Anna.
I am so happy to be here. The riffs and the vibes are already on point with a giggle guru?
Oh my God. We started with just comedian, and then she's taken it upon herself to come up with a weird other way to say it every week.
I like this.
It's a gift.
I have to ask, who's the older sister?
The comedian is the older sister. For the people who aren't watching us, which is all of you.
I love the lemon clips on social media where it's just two toothy lemons talking to each other.
That was my workaround. We don't really have video, but I do want to have some sort of banter. So yes, the lemon heads on TikTok. If anyone wants to look at them, I am Laura Ryan on TikTok.
Good banter. It's well fit. Good banter.
Good banter.
Good banter.
Our vibe is, Anna, I was the parentified eldest child of 4. I did a terrible job raising my brother and sister because I was a teenager. And then after that, I left that role. I was best kid. I'm just going to turn in that ship.
So you're the mom and where all your children.
Right.
But see, then you went to college.
She was born to be a therapist. She was raised to be a therapist. She is a very steady force.
She was groomed to be a therapist.
So you have therapist parents.
Oh, no.
I had to be their therapist.
Yeah. Our parents were so messed up, they made a therapist. Our parents were so messed up, they made a therapist, 2 comedians, and 2 musicians, really. That's messed up.
And an actor. Don't forget.
Oh, that's right. And an actor.
Don't forget Emily. And Robbie is also an actor. So we got it all.
That's our whole family vibe. And your topic is that your grandma is a therapist, which is Ouroboros. It circles in on itself because my sister's a therapist. And Laura, while I was researching this episode, I found another podcast called My Mom, the Therapist.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And I got super mad. But I looked it up and it turns out if she ever did publish any podcasts, she's taken them down. What she mostly is, she's a very successful YouTuber, and bless her.
I was afraid you were going to say that my son had started a podcast without my knowledge.
She probably will.
There's one about a guy whose mom is a sex therapist.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. That's got to be rough.
It will dry your loins, the podcast. It is loin drying. It's so good.
Her grandma, like our mom, is in a fancy old people apartment.
Yeah.
Right.
And is also loving it.
What sort of therapist is your grandma? I'm sure she's retired.
She was a licensed marriage and family therapist for 40 years.
Like me.
Yeah, she had her own practice. She specialized in family systems. She did groups as well. And it was very much a part of her personality. The couches were mauve. She was mauve. She was a therapist through the 80s and 90s. And then up until, she's like a classic rock station. She quit, I think about 10 years ago, because I used to joke and say, I would just do this every day. And I'm like, well, at some point we have to consider, do we want the wake to happen with you just in a chair so people could sit with you one last time?
This is a question that I have had for many years. When am I going to hang this up? Because Virginia and I have another episode about aging in Hollywood and how being an older actor is not great for women, but being an older therapist is actually a good thing. As I age, I used to say I'm going to die on my couch. I'm going to die with a client, but I'm not so sure anymore.
That wouldn't be great for the client. People say all the time, I want to die having sex. That's not kind to your partner.
No, I remember watching a movie where that did happen. The therapist died during the appointment.
They're just quiet for a long time and then the camera pans.
Thoughtful, quiet,
really,
demure,
really cutesy.
Rigor mortis.
Makes reflective listening really easy.
And here's my question to you. And this is the question I asked my current therapist. And she said, "Oh, that's intrusive." But I always have to ask,
Huh.
do you have a therapist?
Absolutely. Why didn't she tell you that? That's crazy.
Well, she did. She goes, "No one's ever asked me that before, but I always send this
Mine
email."
is named Brenda.
Hi, Brenda. Okay. I love that. My therapist's name is Flo, and she's very good, very talented. My grandmother did not have a therapist. And I think that that's important
Yeah.
to understand. So there was a lot of her friends would come over and they would polish a bottle of wine and then they would complain about their clients without breaking HIPAA, as one is wont to do. My mom and her had a very adversarial relationship. My therapist has actually just floated the idea, because my grandmother was institutionalized before and getting her degree in the 70s.
Right.
She capitalized on that moment where college was free in California. She got her degree, and I love and respect her so much. And also love her identity as therapist, but also it was contradictory because she was a bit chaotic.
Right.
And remains a bit chaotic.
Here's a fun fact about therapists. Most of us are mentally ill.
Yeah, which is what builds that empathy. But also my therapist was like, I wonder if she went into becoming a therapist so she
To
could
cure herself. I've given up on that one, but
And because no one asked, my most recent therapist was named Pete.
Hi, Pete.
So then Pete got his degree and said, well, we can continue therapy, but my rate will go up. And I said, I honor and respect that. Why would I pay a man?
Ah,
I've never had a male therapist. If you're a BIPOC person, I don't know why you would ever go to a white lady, except that it's mostly white ladies.
Right.
it is hard. I had a therapist and I was really resistant. So my mom was super resistant to therapy, super resistant to 12-step, had problems with drugs and alcohol, died of a pulmonary embolism pretty young. I went into therapy shortly after that because here's the thing, is I can't shake that therapy smell.
Mhm.
My sponsor's a therapist. Several
Nice.
of my friends are therapists. One of them is a DBT specialist. She specializes in personality disorders.
Dialectical behavioral therapy, for anyone who's wondering.
Yeah.
Dropping the science.
Dropping that science. I know so many really talented therapists. And so I was really resistant. I called my sponsor one day because I was so angry. And she said, go get this outside help or never call me again. And she slammed the phone down. She saved my life. And my first therapist was this trauma-informed, her name was Ebony Jones. Shout out. And
I need that to be my name.
right? Like sounded like a comic book character and taught me how to relax in a chair. I came in like a soccer player, like I was getting ready.
Active sports stance.
Well,
Exactly.
you have to be ready at any moment to jump up and get out of the room, right?
And run away. Someone's asking me, how does that make you feel? Because my grandma definitely had the most cultivated therapy sort of like
Persona.
Yeah. So she'd be like, hello, Anna. She's from Fresno. So it made a lot of sense. And then she would like cock her head a little bit and be like,
Did she wear a lot of waterfall
Scarves.
cardigans?
yes, cardigans, a chunky jewelry.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Statement.
There's a
necklace.
look. There's a look. I got off the bus in LA and I saw a woman with a flowy open cardigan. And I believe she also had statement eyeglasses. And I said to myself, that lady is a therapist. And then she turned and went into the Kaiser building where I'm sure she worked as a therapist. I'm sure.
I remember going to an EMDR convention and it was like 5,000 cardigans.
I have so many questions about an EMDR convention. Do you just walk in and it's just strobe lights in every corner?
Pretty much.
Is it just boom, 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 boom?
Yeah.
Like, is there a DJ? Is it also a rave? Was the Matrix 2 shot there? I have questions.
I wish it was all of that. It's EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing,
Science.
which is much more boring than the thing you're talking about, which is EMD. What is it called? The
EDM.
EDM. Yes. This was a hotel. The air conditioning was turned up too high.
Really cold.
Because everyone presenting was a therapist, we all had trouble with the slides.
These things, from what I have seen, just picking her up and dropping her off, it's always like a mid-level hotel, a Courtyard Marriott, not a Hampton Inn necessarily.
A double tree?
Could definitely be a double tree. So they're in the ballroom in those terrible chairs. And then they spend a lot of time re-traumatizing themselves because they're practicing EMDR on each other. At the end of these weekends, Laura would just be a quivering bowl of jelly because she had talked about every awful thing that had ever happened.
Not to make it about me, but let's make it about me. When I did the Imago relationship therapy training, I was breastfeeding, so I couldn't spend too much time away from my son. So we had to go all together, and I would spend all day crying about my difficult relationship with my parents and my terrible upbringing. And then I would go up to my hotel room to breastfeed, and my mother was sitting there.
A lot of what my family dynamic was like was, what if in that scenario you were in the hotel room and your mom was downstairs? Because when Virginia does her impression of your mother, it reminds me of my grandma. But what if your mom had the language that you do to terrorize you with?
That would be incredibly difficult, and probably what I assume everyone else experiences when they're around me. I think it's probably really, really annoying.
No, you're a delight. I'm enjoying it. I love a hot EMDR conversation.
There are a lot of those.
Yeah, actually, it happens with me a lot. I've never done EMDR, but then it's mandatory reading in Los Angeles now to have a copy of the Body Keep score and even more points if you've read it. And when I opened it up for the first time, I had started karate for 10 years before I ever started therapy, and realizing that drawing my body into that change experience while I was doing 12 steps at the same time and then bringing in the therapy, it was like a powerful trifecta. Not to say that I'm not open to EMDR. I'm kind of at the point in the therapeutic process where I'm not living in the trauma every day. Like, I don't need to go through it every time. I've surrendered. I couldn't even call it that at the beginning. It was literally, my therapist was like, that's called neglected abuse. And I went, what?
Huh? Oh, you mean the worst sort of abuse?
Yeah.
Tracking back to your grandma, do you know what she was hospitalized for? And we're assuming she's not going to listen. Grandma, don't listen.
She can't. She doesn't know how. She's 92. What's interesting now is it's harder for her to mask because she is 92. And this is what I know. And we can't diagnose for stuff.
No.
Especially because at the time, I don't think they had this diagnosis. The only book that has helped me with how to interact with her is a book called Stop Walking on Eggshells.
That's a classic.
Yeah. Which
borderline
is
personality disorder.
Exactly. I had a couple of sponsors and people in the program who were like, hey, maybe look into how to be in relationship with people who have this disorder. And that's been really helpful because I choose to stay in her life, especially after she lost my mom. And I did offer, because my friend is a grief counselor, I was like, hey, I can have somebody come to your house. And she was like, absolutely not. I'm good. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
red flag. Any therapist who doesn't do therapy shouldn't be in the profession, because I told Virginia about my day on Thursday, and I can't do this without support. I need help too, because my job is taking on all of you guys' stuff and then trying to live a normal life. And it's very difficult.
And that was her one piece of advice to me, because she could tell she was making a tiny therapist, because I listened to my friends. I have what I call resting therapist face. Several times hookups have started crying because they feel seen for the first time in a long time. And I'm like, sir, your penis is out. Stop that. And not to be toxic, but
just trying to get some.
Exactly. I'm not here for the whole emotional experience right now. So she said, please don't become a school teacher, a therapist, or a social worker, because she could see it in me.
Yeah.
And she's had her network, she's had her support groups, and they're still a really big part of her life. And I appreciate them so much. And I imagine, because she had a thriving practice, she was very successful at her job.
Yes.
I think where it came out is interpersonally, she could be quite difficult.
So you think she was a good therapist?
Possibly.
So I have had the experience from my vantage point where I have known people personally and they are unhinged and completely insane. But for that 50 minutes, they can get it together and actually be a pretty good therapist. If you're good at active listening and you don't make the whole hour about yourself, I think you can be.
Just like a weird combination of things.
So here's how a borderline therapist could be successful. Borderlines are incredibly empathic. They're basically a raw nerve. So they can take in your emotions. They can cry. They can be there with you in a very intense way. And I think that could be helpful to a lot of people. That's the other thing. I give great marriage and family advice. I give great couples advice. Am I married? No. I give great parenting.
Do you want to be married? No.
No. I give great parenting advice. Am I a good parent? No.
You're an okay parent. You're a C.
I'm a good enough parent. I'm a C+ parent. I'm not an expert. I'm not good at life. Life is hard.
Like, I think that's interesting and kind of a scary topic because I think people want to see their therapists as being perfect, idealized humans. And that's why we don't know anything about the therapist's life really, because it's harder to keep that facade up when you know my car is about to die and my brother won't talk to me and there's 15 other things going on. I do kind of see it as being like a headliner in comedy. When you're a junior person, when you're working up and you're working with someone who's done it for a long time, you think, wow, they know everything. They're absolutely bulletproof. They can never have a bad set. And then you see them have a bad set and you're like, oh no.
Oh, they're human.
Well, and this is why we don't have dual relationships, because you can't see that or it will totally screw up our therapeutic alliance.
Right. And I have a question about that because occasionally my therapist will share a little anecdote. I don't know about the ins and outs.
Well, I share anecdotes that are related to your problem.
Right.
Again, if I make the whole hour about me, why are you paying me to talk about myself? That's what I do on my podcast.
Hey. But I can tell because you have that humility and that presence of mind as the friend who speaks fluent therapy. My therapist friends will call and they'll do that thing that my grandma's friends would do, where they would be like, girl, let me tell you, I got a borderline with NBD right now. And she started as a couples client and now she's an individual because he's not the problem. It just feels like I'm at war for 45 minutes and every hair on my body stands up. I mean, just the whole nine. I'm always there to listen. Specifically that friend, when she was in school, I would tell her, I'd be like, hey, I need you to really get a therapist because it's really important, because I worry, because you are so empathic and you are so dialed in and you are so talented. I worry that you'll wear out on it and become like my grandma.
Yeah.
My sponsor just moved and she goes, my gift to you before leaving California is this. Stop asking your therapist friends if you have a personality disorder. You don't. You have anxiety.
If you're asking, you don't.
You don't.
If it even occurs to you to ask,
then you don't.
So those are the things I do is I pop up every once in a while and I'm like, all right, I've been thinking for 12 hours that I might be a little narcissistic. I am a comedian.
Right.
And I have,
it's in the water. It's around.
It's in the water. It could happen. So I was just wondering, they're always like, you've lost your mind.
I was in couples counseling and our counselor fired us because she said, you both need to go to individual. She's like, I cannot work with you pricks.
No kidding.
Yeah. And then I told Laura she was right, which we very rarely get the opportunity to say, I told you so. And I've given that to Laura a couple times. That's my gift. Because of my family of oranges, I am very attracted to borderline women. And my close friendships have always been borderlines. They're so involving because they need you. And then they're gone. I made a decision, and this is going to sound creepy. When I got to know Brandy Posey, our mutual friend and your ex-roommate, I made a decision to cultivate a friendship with her because she's healthy. This person is a healthy person. Even. Thoughtful.
That sounds like a smart choice. I don't think there's anything creepy about that.
No, it's creepy that I'm telling Anna like how premeditated my friendship.
I totally understand, because when you are attracted to friendships where it feels like you're being enveloped in their energy, you're being enveloped in that warmth of who they are. And then especially for creative people, you're teeing off each other and they're so involved. You do have to have like a focus. When I moved in with Brandy, we were acquaintances, strong acquaintances. And then the pandemic started.
Right.
And so we became
super tight,
like sisters. And it was interesting because we both had never really had sisters. I have one, but we weren't raised together. And it's very interesting to gel into that. And the stuff that would make me nervous, the stuff that would never make her nervous, or vice versa, the stuff that would make her nervous were things I was like, oh no, that's fine. I'm used to a chaos. Let's go.
I definitely see you guys as having different strengths in a very compatible way.
Yeah. We lived together for like 4 years. Obviously it worked. I think I look for that in my relationships now. I've had to do the same thing. I've had to actively steer away from folks on that spectrum.
The cluster B peeps.
Plus the
Yes.
cluster bees. That's actually would be a very funny, like a beehive with little bees.
My life is chaos. You need to help me.
So codependency is, we would call it in 12-step, like a character defect. Codependency, I always call it the Swiss Army knife of character defects because you open it up and there's so many things inside. What I love about it is it's the only drug where the drug calls you and says, I need your help.
Right.
You know,
You up.
I'm going to fix it.
It makes you feel so helpful. It makes you feel so useful. And then they tell you, you're the best friend I've ever had.
Until you're not.
Every other friend I have has betrayed me. Here's this long line of close female friends I've had. I'll never speak to any of them again. And then you start looking at that line and you're like, I'm going to be in that line one day.
Right.
I'm going to be in the front of that line.
My ideal client is incredibly codependent. That's who comes in.
Okay.
And what I always tell her, because it's almost always a woman, codependency is the only addiction that no one ever wants you to get better from.
Oh, God.
They're getting something out of it. They get to take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Their way of enabling it is to be a freaking mess.
A hot mess express is
A
what I
hot
call
mess express. Yeah. I feel like I've read all the books. I've read sometimes more books than the therapist. And when they can admit that, that's how I know that they're cooking with gas. When they're like, oh, I haven't read that one. That's when I'm like, oh, you're a real one. I like that. You're not afraid of this. Because I always shoot an email across that goes like this. My grandmother's a huge part of my life. And for better or for worse, she makes for great comedy. She's extremely funny. She was married 5 times. And she once told comedian Laurie Kilmartin, but I don't know if the 5th one was necessarily legal. And I was there for the 5th one. He was a psychologist at Atascadero State Hospital, and she was a marriage and family therapist. I got to watch 2 therapists break up on the I-5 freeway with an 8-year-old in their car.
Amazing.
Wow. So was she a primary caregiver for you?
So my mom passed when I was like 27, but my mom was in and out of institutions my whole life. So I would see her about every summer. And she was always this, to quote my therapist, Flo, she's a looming presence.
Mhm.
She's a big looming presence.
She looms large.
She's like a big paper mache moon in the background.
That sounds creepy.
It can be. It's a lot sometimes. And she's also very funny and dynamic and directed community theater and acted. And so there's all these really engaging qualities about her, but also messy boundaries. I went on a date with a guy whose parents were therapists, and he was oversharing immediately. And I'm practicing, because in comedy, I get paid to overshare. I'm practicing on dates to say, oh, that sounds like a wonderful thing to take to a therapist. Do you have one? And then kind of steer away from the conversation. And finally he said, well, yes, but also it's my family business. And then I leaned back, I took a huge breath and I went, oh, you weren't allowed any emotional privacy. I get it. Me too.
Right.
And then we had this conversation and we never saw each other again. But
We had this moment of bonding.
a moment of bonding where it was like, I see you. And also, little less, I have to work on that too, to not throw all my rocks on the table. The boundaries were fuzzy. She'll run around naked. You know what I mean? She's living her truth. She's loud and proud, and the biggest personality around her at all times is her.
2 things I read about people who have family members as therapists. Like you said, it makes you resistant to therapy because you feel like you shouldn't need therapy. You shouldn't have to have therapy
Or
because you have
the therapists are crazy buttholes
Right,
and you
right.
don't want to bother with them because your parents or your grandma or your uncle or whatever suck.
you feel on some level that you should be above therapy. And 2, the boundaries thing is very funny. I've talked to Laura about it, how in comedy, you meet all kinds of people who tell you, oh, I just have no boundaries. And they say it like it's a funny, fun thing and not terrifying and very soul sucking.
It
Well,
makes
yeah.
me want to unzip my skin and run away.
Yes.
That's
Same.
when somebody says that to me. I'm like, oh, you're a dangerous
Yeah.
person.
I went to see Virginia. She came and did a thing in Austin. The woman that came on before her, I was like, this girl needs help.
Right.
What's happening right now? And people are laughing at this. This is crazy.
Because so many comedians go on stage and they go, this is my therapy. And I
It's
go,
not.
no, it is not. The other sick thing people do, and this drives me insane because so much of my stuff is grief. because my dad died when I was 17. My mom died when I was 27. We do funerals in my family a lot.
Like birthday parties.
Like birthday parties. I buy a gray dress. You could wear it to weddings and funerals. And when comedians lose a family member, and it's now we're at that age where they're losing their parents.
It's no longer dying young. It's just dying.
It's just dying. And then so they go on stage like 20 minutes later. I had a show tonight. My dad died 20 minutes ago. This is the best thing for me.
I
It's
couldn't
like,
leave the night at Slappy's
Right.
because my dad died.
When our dad died, I started doing comedy. Like immediately I was on stage talking about it. And I was playing this weird game where I would talk about him and I would try to get as close to tears as I could and then pull back and just see if I could do it.
Really very stable.
Weird tightrope act that I was doing.
I also went to work shortly after our father passed because I'm self-employed.
Right.
and I need money, even though my dad is dead. But I thought, well, this will be a way for me to just immerse myself in other people's reality and not have to worry about myself. I was groomed from birth to do that. There's this young woman, and she was coming to see me to talk about how she thought that because she was incredibly wealthy, that maybe her friends were using her for her money. And I just thought, I don't have time for this at all.
Right.
I just said, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time being empathetic. My father just died.
Good for you, though, because you got to model.
Right.
You can take a moment for yourself. And also, like,
you're a Nepo baby and nobody cares.
Nobody cares. I get that you want to give me your money to be sad about your charmed life. And sometimes you'll have a friend, you'll be dating somebody and they'll be like, oh my God, I'm having the hardest time with my quality problem. Oh my God, I've been writing on a TV show and it's so hard. And I have health insurance and it's so hard. And I'm like, my uterus just fell out. I hate you.
When I've talked to Laura about this kind of topic, everyone's biggest problem is their biggest problem.
Right.
You don't hear it because it's not your biggest problem. I did have a thing recently where my partner has a stalker. And so I kind of have a stalker. And she shows up every once in a while and engages on the same level. But the last time she hit me up for another round of just stuff, I said, I just lost someone very important to me and I don't have time for this. Death puts everything in this perspective.
Yes.
Right.
The things that I worry about day to day are not important.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the really great things about it.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
That's huge. My base instinct, if there is a fight, flight, or freeze, I'm a fighter.
Right.
Mhm.
So I would have said something I would have had to make amends for or done something bad. And like out here keying cars or whatever. And the fact that you could be so mature and be like, this isn't working, like have a heart, stalker. That
Right.
is some baby reindeer ass Virginia. I bow to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Laura, I have definitely used her as my therapist in hard times. I know it's not good, but it's hard not to because it's hard for her not to step in and empathize because that's her nature. And it's hard for me to not go to her because this is something she's good at. And this is something that I look to her for.
She tried actively for many years. And as I developed boundaries, the reaction was betrayal to that. On the flip side, in my teens and in my early 20s, I needed that. I lived with her. I would lean on her and tell her stuff. And then over time, it felt less and less safe as I sort of grew in one direction and she grew in another.
And you were growing.
Exactly. It's interesting because my sponsor is a therapist and she wasn't when we met and then became one. And as she grew into that role too, I try not to bring therapy stuff to my sponsor, but sometimes I have this PTSD thing happening and there is an overlap and I'm feeling super dysregulated and she can show up for me in a way that I know that I don't want her to work off the clock. The difference is her response is sometimes, you know what? They're trash. Or yeah, baby, it's just going to happen. I think the constant gripe with that dynamic in my life, and she's very much a parental role in some ways. She's been my sponsor for like 15 years. I love her so much. And the constant gripe is, when do I get to stop peeling back this onion and growing?
The answer is never.
Yes.
And you die.
I would like there to be a finish line. Thank you. I would like there
I'm complete now. I'm my most evolved self and there's light coming off of my fingers and the tip of my nose and I don't need to grow anymore.
Imagine your therapeutic breakthrough being, I became a stand-up comedian.
Oh my God.
I had no self-esteem, no hopes and dreams. I started doing stand-up, and my first therapist was like, this is a wrap. You did it. You're doing the thing. And also she had to go get her licensing. On the flip side, I want to give credit where credit's due. And also, I do lean on the therapists in my life. I've leaned on my grandmother in the past, and she would love it if I lean on her more. She would love it. Unfortunately, I just don't feel safe. And now I've become, because I worked in drug and alcohol treatment centers, and I currently work with folks with disabilities. And so now we swapped roles. She's now having to confront that she has panic attacks. She has stuff going on, and I get to normalize it.
Wow.
And I get to say, hey, grandma, so do I. Yeah. And it's 2024, and we don't lock people away and throw away the key anymore.
Is that why she ended up being hospitalized?
I don't know.
No,
it's a mystery. Know. It's a mystery.
Have you ever asked her about it?
I've tried, because when I try to steer her away from certain topics, I'll say, why don't you tell me about the amazing things you've done in your life? And she'll say, my childhood was very upsetting. And then I'll say, okay, that's not what I meant. It's been cool in that way that I was sort of born to be a caretaker, or groomed to be a caretaker in that way. It's been nice to be able to model that, like, it's okay to ask for assistance.
It's the right move, really.
Yeah.
So, same question to Laura the other way. How does it feel when you are therapizing your friends and family? What are your thoughts about it?
I'm going to answer that with a quote from Dr. Cindy Chan. From the article, as a clinical psychologist, can I treat my family members or friends? The clinical psychologist may not be able to remain being objective in psychotherapy if there is a concurrent multiple relationship between the therapist and the client. Even if the therapist tries one's best to remain objective, the client may not be able to reciprocate. The fact that therapeutic effectiveness may be affected if objectivity is compromised. For instance, a therapist may not be able to analyze the problem a client is facing if he or she has prior conflicts with the client as a friend or family member. That's the issue. With Virginia, I cannot be objective.
Right.
I've known her my entire life. We've had plenty of conflicts on a variety of subjects and topics. So sometimes she'll be telling me about a problem she's having. It's hard to have objectivity. I do my best to try to be helpful, but at the end of the day, some of the stuff is just above my pay grade. Not just Virginia specifically, but I'm your sister. I'm not your therapist. And I remember in my last relationship, that was what I kept saying to him.
Yeah.
I am a therapist, but I am not your therapist.
Right.
You
And
should call your therapist.
Your therapist.
Well, because you're asking me to work 24 hours a day, and I'm
Right.
not doing that. That's too much.
There's nothing that will dry your loins more than having to care for somebody in that capacity 24 hours a day.
Well, and Laura's had the opposite thing, where when someone has entered her practice, she has thought, vaguely in a general way, well, this is an attractive person. And then after just a couple sessions, she's like, oh,
I know exactly why I was attracted to you and why I could never date you.
And why I could never date you.
Besides the fact that you're my client and I could never date you. But in addition,
a list of things I found on the internet, pros and cons of having a therapist in the family. On the good side, you might have accelerated communication skills.
I've always been a good talker.
You've always been a good talker, an active listener. You've always had empathy. You might pick up some problem-solving skills that normals don't have. But boundary issues is challenge one. Having overlapping roles, potential for being resistant to therapy yourself, feeling like if you go to therapy, that's a betrayal. Laura, what do you have a child. You're not having one. You already have one.
I'm not having one right now. I'm currently doing a podcast.
If you were having one right now, I would say this woman is made of steel. She's got
her breathing is impeccable.
Amazing.
Virginia, how long before you think, since there are so many pregnancy specials and albums, how long before you think a child just happens on stage?
Ali Wong can't have a special without being pregnant. People don't even know who she is.
We'll have to get her just
It's hard to recognize you without this giant bulbous thing coming out of your very tight dress.
Laura, what are your hopes and fears about being a mom who's a therapist?
What are my hopes and fears?
Like, what do you hope that you can give your kid, and what are you scared that you're going to give your kid?
I'm terrible at this. My hope is, because my son is a boy at the moment, my hope is that I can teach him how to talk about his feelings and have and understand the full range of his emotions. So that's my hashtag goal for him. I want him to be mentally stable. I want him to understand his emotions and have the language for it. And I want him to be able to have a successful relationship with another adult person. And I want him to have lots of friends. That's how that works.
That's beautiful.
Although he did tell her a couple years ago that when he's grown up and he has his own house, he's not going to hug her anymore. And he's going to get a monster truck and he's going to drive over her car.
He said when he's a big man, he's going to come back to my house and run over my car with a monster truck.
I cannot wait for the episode of Nature versus Nurture when it comes to toxic masculinity. Is that just a genetic thing where it's like, I'm a boy, I want a monster truck, I'm mad at you? Because where a little girl would be, I hate you, mom, I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
And she would slam a door. Whereas little boy's like, I'm going to buy a monster truck. I'm going to conquer you.
I'm going to destroy you. That was his thing. He said it in anger. If you ever want to pick up hot single dads, monster truck shows, chock-a-block with hot single dads.
Hot tip.
Are we going to go?
I have already attended several, so I'm good.
Hot. Okay.
So
okay.
yeah, I'm going to look at Jeff Guenther as my inspiration. He was talking about his mom, the good and bad of having a therapist mom. She was a rock. She was stable. She was supportive and caring, but not intrusive or overbearing. Such a pleasant and calm presence. She used her therapy skills to give me and my sister space to work things out so that we could learn and grow. While this worked out in the end and my personal development was positively impacted because of it, I would have loved to have her riled up a lot more. The pro was that she was a steady anchor. The con was that I couldn't make her flinch. And really, there's nothing better than driving your parents crazy.
I love that.
Right?
Have you seen Therapy Jeff on TikTok, Anna?
Yeah, the guy.
The guy, little read of a guy who always has an indie rock shirt on. Yeah.
He's from Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's his article. So his mother's a therapist. And they have
he has since gone no contact.
Yes. So being a rock isn't all it's cracked up to be, literally. That was a funny point. Anyway, I wish I could be more like Jeff's mom because I'm not a rock. I get angry. I have a full range of emotions, but that made me feel kind of good because I'm like, well,
he's saying that I'm human.
Yeah, he knows that I'm a person. One of the ways that therapy has informed my parenting is that I do always make an attempt to repair. When I screw up, I take responsibility for it and I try to repair.
That's
Laura,
beautiful.
While we're at it, what are your final thoughts on therapy in the family?
Well, this has been very interesting. Anna has taught me a lot. It's weird to think about the impact that this has on the people in your life because it's just my job, but it is also me because I can't turn it off. I remember dating a very mentally ill person and he said,
so many of them, really.
Pretty much every man I've ever dated is.
Me too.
Let's be real. Yeah. There's such a wide array of them. It's hard to avoid them, but
they're not well as a population.
No.
Right now, especially.
No.
We're worried for them.
Yeah.
We have a podcast episode called Why Don't Men Have Friends? If you want to find out more.
I'm so excited.
But he said, stop therapizing me. And I thought, you know what? If you were a plumber and my toilet is running, you would probably know how to fix it and you would try to help me. You wouldn't just stand back and go, well, I'm not at work. I can't not be me. And I think it's hard to balance it. It's really hard to have boundaries and balance all the things, but it is interesting to think about the impact that this might have on other people. Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
On the one hand, I'm very lucky because when I bring my day job to family and friend relationships, it's sewing on a button or helping buy a suit.
You made me a dress once.
I did. I'm so sorry about that.
I didn't wear it. It was too small.
Our stepmother sent us a size 4 and just thought, and I was like, well, I guess this is it. Although it is weird because sometimes I'll come home and people will have outrageous projects. Like my mother will be like, I need a set of curtains and you have a needle and thread and you're going to do it. No. The experience of having a therapist in my family is fascinating. I'm interested by the topic. Therefore, we have a podcast. It is
on
also
that topic. What's it
on
called?
that topic. It's called My Sister's a Therapist. And it's about my sister who's a therapist and me. And it did keep me from doing therapy for a long time because I'm like, wow, I don't need it. I'm doing okay. And I have her. But now that I've done a bit of therapy, I can better understand the role that she plays and who she is in my life. And it's generally positive. Anna, what are your final thoughts?
You two give me a lot of hope. You really do. I think it's really beautiful. I am heartfelt on a cringy level, so just strap in. And also, I'm not often on a podcast where I go, oh, I'm going to subscribe to this podcast now. I knew it was going to be good because I love the TikTok content, but for better or worse, part of why I'm funny, part of why I'm weird, part of why I've had some of the experiences I've had is because my grandmother is a therapist and a messy one at that. And my overall thoughts on it is that it's okay to be naturally empathetic. That's a thing that you probably are like, I'd like to turn that off. What I'm getting for it is, oh, wow, what a beautiful thing. This has been a very good chat and you both are very funny and it's really great. It's really, really great. So I'm proud of both of you. You're doing it.
People do tell me about the podcast. They're like, Laura's really funny. I'm like, oh yeah, she's really funny. And luckily she doesn't have the need to be a stand-up comedian.
We don't have to compete.
It's so healthy of you. Congratulations.
Just be funny in your life. Anna has a new album out called MURDERPUSS that you should check out on all of your platforms. And Anna, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Anna V is Funny on all social media. That's Anna with 2 N's. And you can also find me at annavalenzuela.com or burnthisrecords.com for the album. And it's a fun little body horror romp through having a hysterectomy and almost boning a man to death. So it's pretty great.
Hashtag goals.
Hashtag goals.
Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on my website, lauraryan.org. You can also find me on my TikTok account. I am Laura Ryan. If you're interested in finding more about the show, you can follow us on Instagram, My Sisters a Therapist Instagram. We also have our own website, mysistersatherapist.com. Virginia, how can people reach out to you?
Thank you so much for asking. I'm at Bedinia.com is my website. Bedinia is my TikTok. Bedinia is my Instagram. All things will come to you from Virginia. And then if you would like to reach out to us, please write us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. If you would like to hire us for your
bat mitzvah,
for your bris, for your Shabbat, please write us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. I want to thank Anna Valenzuela for joining us today. It's been fun. It's been interesting. It's been a time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to bring my uneducated life experience onto this pod. And it's, again, you both are delightful. This is a great pod. Do you know that? Are you aware of that?
Thank you.
It's lovely. And it's always lovely to have a visit with you, my friend. Laura, this is the part of the podcast where you will read a review from a listener. Do you have one to share this week?
We've recently discovered that Spotify allows you to write some reviews. So I'm going to read, just to mix it up. We love your 5-star Apple Podcast reviews, but today we're going to read a Spotify review from Irabello. Great show. Irresponsible diagnoses was really fun. You made me laugh a lot during the podcast. Also, I do think that comedians are probably more mentally ill than other people.
We are.
I absolutely believe in soulmates. I believe I found mine and married her. We met at a friend's Halloween party and I feel very lucky. Also, the two of you made a good case for the fact that sex addiction is just an excuse. I have loved all the episodes so far. Loving your podcast. Thank you, Arabello.
Thank you, Arabello. Now, I did talk to a friend of ours who's in Coleslaw about the sex addiction episode, and she was kind of agitated about it, but I think she would like it if she listened to it. We would like to close, as we always do, with the immortal words of Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn. We can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.